everyone. So March is Autoimmune Disease Awareness Month, and I have an autoimmune disease, and so I felt it was a really great opportunity to get involved this month, to share my story and to share the tips and resources and tools and the people who supported me to be able to live these last 2 years symptom free, because when I was first diagnosed it was quite overwhelming. While I knew that such things existed as autoimmune disease, and I work within the health industry, when you get your own diagnosis, it still kind of throws you for a loop, because it's like, so what next? Particularly when Western medicine is very geared up to, here's the pill or the potion or the lotion that's going to help or cure or stabilize your condition. And I had decided that I was going to do something completely different. I wanted to look at a more natural, holistic way to manage my condition. And that's what I did. But I thought that today what I would do was to share the symptoms that I was experiencing, just in a way of putting that out there. Because for me, one of the problems was that it was for 2 years before I was diagnosed in 2018 with Hashimoto's, I had been experiencing a raft of symptoms that seemed completely unrelated, and I was treating each of those symptoms individually and still kind of cascading down into ill health and disease. So in no particular order, the symptoms that I had were, I was getting daily full body hive rashes. I got a staphylococcus infection on the end of my nose. My hair came out in quite large clumps when I brushed it or when I washed it. I had 2 swellings on 2 knuckles and 1 toe that was excruciatingly painful. I had lots of intermittent diarrhea, constipation. I had a lot of gas and bloating, which was very difficult to deal with. And then I think towards the end, it was things like my sleep started to get really impaired. I was diagnosed as having gastroesophageal reflux disorder, diagnosed as having small intestinal bowel overgrowth, and my mood went all over the place. And it was the sleep and the mood that really prompted me to then stop all the guessing about what's going on with me and to take the next step, because my mood and my sleep had become so impacted that none of my normal resources were able to support me at all. Now, I also suffered from acute adrenal fatigue about 12 years ago now, and so as a result of that, I specialize in stress and sleep, and so I know a lot about managing my own stress reaction and supporting my body to sleep well. And I was going through long periods where sleep was non-existent and my moods would fluctuate so much that I was finding it almost becoming quite debilitating. I was working on retreat at this time, and I'd very often have to be out and on in retreat and doing workshops and chatting and sitting and having lunch, and then going and crying in the utility room or going to bed and sleeping for a couple of hours. It was not a way to sustainably go forward. So I got tested. I went privately, because unfortunately that's what I had to do, and I paid to have the most super duper raft of tested. We tested blood, we tested spit, we tested wee, we tested poo, we tested everything, we tested breath, the lot. I just was at that point where I was so fed up. I wanted to know what was going on. So my diagnosis came back, Hashimoto's thyroiditis. What the hell? What am I going to do with that? I decided that I wouldn't look at taking medication, because it turns out that my thyroid hormones are within the normal range. They're quite high, but they're in the range. But my thyroid antibodies were off the charts. That, alongside some other indicators around actually being vitamin and mineral deficient in a lot of ways and different things, led to this diagnosis of Hashimoto's thyroiditis. I made a decision that I was going to tackle this naturally, and I did. For 2 years, I made some immediate changes to my diet, to my lifestyle, and I started to take supplements, natural supplements, and for probably 18 months now, I have been completely symptom-free. Now, I'm going to share more about my journey across the course of this month, but I just thought I would help start the conversations going by sharing my personal symptoms. I didn't have all of the classic symptoms of Hashimoto's, and neither might you. But it's about knowing your own body, and you know when something's not quite right. And when you reach that stage where you're starting to get a catalogue of things that are going wrong, it's time to stop guessing and start testing. So that's where I'm at right now. Listen, I hope you have a fabulous day. And if you are worried about your health and well-being, then find a health professional that you can talk to, because where I was 2 years ago was head in my hands. I don't know how I'm going to be able to continue, to today feeling well, feeling vibrant, feeling healthy. It is possible to turn that corner. But the first thing you have to do is figure out what's wrong.